We're months away from a federal election, but we've been a number of issues. Canada Post, as you mentioned, the USMCA, a lot of dairy farmers are definitely not happy about that. The BC pipeline, where do things stand now for the Liberals?
Well, in terms of Alberta, they're they're certainly not well regarded there. The fact that you have Alberta oil being sold at a discount to America because we're essentially a captive supplier because we haven't been able to build any pipelines east or west. That's certainly a huge criticism that they're facing in Alberta. At the same time, consumers right across the country are looking at things and going, crude oil prices keep falling, and yet we still keep paying record prices at the pumps. At the same time, they've introduced a carbon tax where there's no sort of offsetting, like we're raising taxes here to encourage people to not consume oil and gas, but at the same time, there's no tax relief anywhere else. And, the working class and middle class Canadians are struggling to make ends meet in the face of rising housing and food prices. So it's a very, very difficult time and situation for the government. On the other hand, people remain kind of undecided and somewhat unknowing in terms of the Conservative leaders. So that's probably the biggest asset that the Liberals have right now, in that Trudeau has an extremely high profile and his main challenger has a rather low profile.
And I want to get to Andrew Scheer really quickly in a minute, but I do want to ask you about MP Raj Grewal and how the PM has handled that situation.
Well, yeah, it's a very troubling situation. There's discussion in the media about that he has a gambling addiction, and that and there's also allegations that he was taking funds or was employed by a law firm and a real estate developer, and the kind of things that you're not supposed to do when you're an MP. The reason members of Parliament are paid much more than the average Canadian is so that they can not be in a situation where they feel tempted by bribes or other income offers. So this is a very troubling situation. It'll be interesting to see. There's been calls for an investigation by the Ethics Commissioner. It'll be interesting to see if there's any police investigations, but certainly very troubling. And for the Conservatives, as that seat opens up, it'll be a litmus test in terms of, hey, can you grab the seat back from the Liberals or not?
Exactly. And I mean, it would be a big seat for them to grab and to sort of hold on to. Really quickly, your thoughts on Andrew Scheer. We know in Ontario, there's a lot of sort of talk with regards to the Ford government and what's happening there. Can what's happening in one province affect what's happening nationally for this leader?
Well, especially when you're talking about the two biggest provinces, Ontario and Quebec. So it's that usual dichotomy that all federal leaders face. There's been criticism of some of the moves that the Ford government has done. It's difficult for Scheer to criticize that publicly without alienating Ontario Conservatives. At the same time, they're trying to make gains in Quebec, and it's hard to win over those Quebec Conservative Francophone voters if you're not standing up for the Francophone community. So it's one of those situations where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. It's a very difficult road to walk.
All right, and definitely a road we're going to continue to follow over the next few months. Michael Geoghegan, a political analyst based in Victoria. Michael, appreciate this. Thank you.
You're welcome.